I'm here with the MP Barnaby Joyce, former Deputy Prime Minister of Australia. Barnaby, thanks for joining me today.
Andrew, it's an absolute pleasure, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to say good day.
Well, I wanted to ask you about The Voice, this recent referendum. You were quite instrumental in that campaign. Tell us about that referendum, because I think a lot of people here didn't really hear about it.
Well, it was diametrically knocked out of the Australian political scheme. People in like a 39% against. And why it was is we were about to get ourselves a hereditary peerage based on race in Australia, a racial clause in 2023 where, you're Caucasian, you couldn't be part of it. I'm Caucasian, couldn't be part of it. Indians, Chinese. So apparently you were born to this right.
So the idea was that Aboriginal people would have a role within, a consultation kind of role when it comes to legislation.
Consultation's a dangerous word. Consultation means if my consultation process is not right, then that person has a right to go to the High Court and say, well, the decision they may have made it, but the process of consultation was flawed, therefore the decision is null and void. Now, the reason we say it would go to the High Court is otherwise you wouldn't bother having it in the Constitution. You'd just have it in legislation.
Yes.
And then the actual definition, Andrew, of what the voice was going to happen after the referendum. So it's like going into the Constitutional Church and meeting your bride or groom as you walk out the door.
Well, what would have happened, just as a theoretical, so say some new form of legislation is being passed, they consult these unelected individuals. What if they had said, actually, no, you can't do that?
Well, they didn't
was it a veto,
They didn't have a right of veto, but what they would do is I'd say, I would first of all have to tell you, I'd have to say, Andrew, I'm bringing forward legislation on agriculture, on defence. Remember the executive head of ASIO, or MI5, MI6, in this case, governor of the Reserve Bank, they're all in the executive. So I'd say, Andrew, I'm about to bring forward this legislation. Then you say to me, Andrew, well, thank you very much, Barnaby, I may get back to you.
Right.
But if I don't consult with you properly and inform you in the fullest form, you could say, well, Barnaby, you didn't really consult as you should have, mate. You erred in a certain area, you left another area completely out. Yes. And therefore I feel that you haven't complied with my constitutional right. And I'll see you in the High Court, brother.
So effectively this was an undemocratic idea.
Crazy, in perpetuity. You can't elect them out, there's elected, not elected.
Yes.
And, I'd say to people, are you a Republican or a monarchist? I say, I'm a Republican. I said, but you're going to vote for like a hereditary peerage in Australia.
Yeah, effectively. So why was it why did it reach this point? I mean, it's quite interesting to know that no state voted it through, right?
Not one, and only one territory. The ACT, which is like Washington, D.C. And what we call the teal seats, which are basically multi-generational wealth, affluent areas, which are neither Labor nor Liberal nor National.
Yes.
And very, very low Indigenous population. In my area, one of the towns with the highest Indigenous proportional population, Aboriginals they call themselves in my area, only 13.5% voted yes.
Yes.
So even they didn't want it.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, there were a number of Aboriginal people who said that they themselves were not happy about this, and they were accused of being, I suppose, race traitors or something like this, which strikes me as a little bit racist.
It was absurd. The leader of the No campaign was Jacinta Napijupa Price, who came from Central Australia, went to Alice Springs High, and they were, sort of calling her a racist, like she's Aboriginal.
Right, exactly.
Then Warramundine is Aboriginal, and in my area I had young Aboriginal guys handing out, and affluent white men were coming up to them, giving them the finger and saying, "F off, you racist." They're going, I am Aboriginal.
Yeah. So what is it about this form of progressivism that would want to create effectively two tiers of citizens on the basis of race? That to me seems so regressive.
It is, and especially offensive in Australia. Premise on the egalitarian nature. I truly believe Australia is the most egalitarian nation on earth, and on the premise that you are as you walk up to me, Andrew. If you walk up to me as prudent, I'll treat you as prudent. If you walk up to me as intelligent, I'll treat you as intelligent. If you walk up to me, Andrew, as a fool, I'm going to treat you as a fool. But if you walk up to me and say, I'm entitled for you to see me this way because I was born that way, I'll say, no, mate, not in Australia.
I mean, we get the impression from an outsider's perspective that there's an ideological movement which is obsessed with group identity, whether that's race, gender, sexuality. It feels as though it's really taken hold in Australia in a very unnerving way. I mean, I spoke to Moira Deeming the other day about her experience. Now, she's from the centre-right party, from the Liberal Party, but they're wanting to expel her for speaking at a feminist event.
Insane.
Can you explain that to me?
Well, I think what we have now is people who identify as wanting to be politicians about it, go back to the people, they go, well, that's not what they're saying in my family, that's not what they're saying in my town, and you're not really connected to me. And you're only getting away with that because you're having your vote in the parliament and not actually with the people. Right. And this referendum was a vote of the people, and the people's views were different to the government, every major corporation, every major sporting organisation, every major faith group, but they were overwhelmingly on the no side.
So in this respect, it's similar to our Brexit situation insofar as the media, both major political parties
got it wrong,
and were urging the demos to vote in a way that they didn't. So in a sense, this is quite healthy for democracy when the people make their voices heard.
I think it's going to resonate across all things now, and with all the other, to be quite frank, sort of leftist battles where we're saying you can either agree with us and be a virtuous person, but if you disagree with us, you're not even allowed to talk. You can't talk. You're more than offensive. I'm going to actually preclude you from your right of having the public square to discuss your issue.
Yes.
And that's what's good here, Andrew, is you're saying, no, the public square is open. It's open for discussion. It's open for debate. It's all right to dissent. It's all right to have those views. And it's not for me to be chained and I have to agree with everything, but I love the opportunity of hearing it, and that's not happening in so many other areas.